All right. So, lesson two. As I mentioned in the first lesson, I mentioned constraints. I talked about how the the inequalities I gave you were actually would be taken from word problems, and here we are. So we're going to write the constraints, those inequalities, based on the information in this problem. Now, first off, just get it out of the way. Immediately, you should put x greater than equal to 0 and y greater than equal to 0. Okay? Unless we have an exception in the problem, which we'll talk about on some of these maybe. But on this one, we're just going to have that. That puts it all in the positive field. There are times where they might say we only have this many of this product, and then you would have an extra vertical or horizontal line. But in this case, it's just going to be these two. And this is the most often forgotten. Okay, so be careful about that. It says a farmer raises two crops, corn and soybeans. You can use letters like C or S, or maybe you use B for beans because S's sometimes look like fives, or you could do X and Y. Doesn't matter. I'm just going to say X is corn and Y is soybeans, or just beans, whatever. Okay? Now, it says each acre of corn requires 4 hours of labor. So corn is 4 hours of labor and $20 for seeds. So we got two things. Labor or hours, money or seeds, however you want to put it. You can put time, whatever. I'm just going to put hours and money. So it says each acre of corn requires 4 hours, okay, and $20. So you can get these out of the way first. I'm going to show you how you can go down first or across first. It doesn't matter. Whatever is less confusing for you. Then it says beans require 2 hours of labor and $30 for seeds. So that's $2 for beans and $30 for seeds. He has 620 hours available. That's the maximum amount of hours, 620. Now, sometimes our brains will trick us on this one, so you really got to go slow and take your time on this and double check it. So some people say, well, that's the maximum amount of hours, okay? So I'm going to put greater than or equal. But think about it. Test a number. Like, what's greater than 620? 700. Does he have 700 hours available? No. So we're actually going to go the opposite direction, less than or equal. Because this number here is the maximum amount. So it's up to and including that amount. So always double check that carefully. And he only has $460. That's the most money he has. So like the previous one, it's going to be less than or equal. And that's it. That's all we're doing right there. Number two, a local humane society keeps cats and dogs. So again, you could do X and Y, C and D, whatever. Okay? I'm going to say we'll do that this time. C is for cats, and D is for dogs. Okay? It says each cat gets a half a bag of food daily and 1 unit of human affection, whatever that means. So, each cat gets food and affection or time or whatever you want to put. All right? And then each dog requires 1 bag of food and 3/4 of a unit. Okay? So if we wanted to go just across this time, just for the heck of it, food. Cats get half a bag. So you can put 1/2 or 0.5. C. Plus, dogs get 1 bag of food. And then they only have 14 bags of food. So that's going to be less than or equal because, again, they can't go over 14 because they don't have it. And then affection, cats get 1 unit, and dogs get 3/4 unit. And again, you can put 3/4 or 0.75, whatever you want. And they only have 18 units of affection time or whatever that is. All right. Since there's no other limits here, we just say x is greater than or equal to 0 and y is greater than or equal to 0. Those are our 4 constraints. All right. Musical instrument factory employs mechanics and woodworkers. So maybe M and W or X and Y, whatever you want. So M is mechanics, abbreviated, and W is for woodworkers, abbreviated. They're going to make pianos and violins. So those are my 2 categories here, pianos and violins. Union rules dictate that 25 mechanics, at least, very important word here, and at most 17 woodworkers. Those mean 2 different things. Okay? So these are those special constraints I talked about that we're not going to say x is greater than or equal to 0, y is greater than or equal to 0. These are our special ones. So I'm going to come down here and do those first. Not x, sorry. M, mechanics. At least 25 mechanics. Now you say at least, you want to go less than. Let's say I did that. So at least 25 mechanics. What's less than 25? 20. Is that at least 25? Oh, no. I need more than 25. 25 is the bare minimum, so I want that or bigger. And woodworkers, the most woodworkers is 17. So that's that limit there. All right. Now, each violin requires 1 hour of mechanics time and 2 hours of woodworkers time. So violin right here, 1 hour of mechanics time and 2 hours of woodworkers time. Each piano requires 3 mechanic and 4 woodworkers. So 3 mechanics and 4 woodworkers. There's 480 hours to make the violins, and there's 1,080 hours to make the pianos. That's the upper limit, so we go less than or equal, and that's our problem. We're done. Now, on this one, we're going to do the objective function the constraints and what's called the objective function, which is always going to be a z equals. This is often going to be a profit line, okay? So it says the Amalgamated Cement Company makes stamped concrete mix and pervious concrete mix, okay? I'm just going to use X and Y because my S's look like 5s and it gets confusing. So I'm going to say X is stamped. If you want to use S, that's fine. And I'm going to say Y is pervious. Okay. It says the company sells the stamped concrete mix for $20 a bag and pervious for $25 a bag. That's talking about the profit they're making. So that's going to be my Z function. Z is going to be equal to 20 for the stamped and 25 for the pervious. Okay? That's not a constraint. That's what they're selling it for. Now we're getting into the creative part. It says a bag of stamped requires 10 pounds of gravel, 12 of sand, and 16 limestone. That means we're going to have 3 categories here. We're going to have gravel, sand, and limestone. All right. So I'm just going to do the straight down method here. Stamped requires 10 gravel, 12 sand, and 16 limestone. Pervious requires 30 of gravel, 18 of sand, and 8 for limestone. The company has 2,100 pounds of gravel, 1,440 pounds of sand, and 1,280 pounds of limestone. That's the most they have, so each of these is going to be less than or equal. And then we're going to look for what's going to maximize. And that's going to be the next lesson when we put this all together, days 1 and 2. Okay? So day 1, we learned how to graph those lines that were given to us. Here, we figure out how to find out those lines. And the next thing we're going to do is have the word problem, write the constraints, graph the lines, get the corner points, and plug the corner points into this equation here, and find out what would be the maximum combination to make the most profit. And last but not least, Furniture Warehouse makes 2 kinds of tables, coffee and end. So I'm going to go C and E. C for coffee and E for end. All right? It says there's assembly time and applying a finish coat. Okay? So we have assemble and finishing. And that's with a coat of varnish or something, not finishing assembly. All right? So it says 2 hours to assemble and 3 hours to apply the finish for a coffee table. And then it says for a cost of $56. Cost. That's going to be in my Z formula. And then it says it takes 4 hours to assemble and 1 hour to apply for an end table. So 4 hours to assemble and 1 hour to apply, okay, for a cost of $73. Assembly is limited to 20 hours a day. That's all the time they have, so that's less than or equal. And finishing is limited to 15 hours a day, less than or equal. And I think I may have forgotten something. I did. The most common thing I told you about not to forget, and I forgot it. Don't forget to put these, because there were no special limits about anything. So make sure you put x is greater than or equal to 0, y is greater than or equal to 0. Sorry about that. I'm just modeling how easy it is to forget. And that's it.